I'm into that, but today's phrase of the day for good old Wednesday is homo homini lupus. This is not going to strike you as easy or sensible. Okay. On the other hand, it is a very ancient Roman proverb and one that we can still see the truth of it today. Not universally, but in certain situations. We can see evidence of the fact that the Romans, well, the fact that the Romans expressed as homo homini lupus. And do you guys notice what we're missing? A verb. Okay. Very commonly in Latin proverbs or in Latin expressions, a verb is left out. Do you guys notice that in yesterday's phrase of the day, pax vobiscum, there was no verb? There's the idea of a linking verb, a let it be or let there be or may there be. And sometimes the linking verb is just as simple as an unexpressed est. In other words, is. Well, if I were to put it in, I'd probably put it in at the end. But let's see, Athena, do you have a thought about translating this? Well, that's good. Then there's a point to the phrase of the day. Can anybody throw out what case hominy is? Just say it. It's dative singular, right, with its third declension noun. And if I were to put it into English as man with a capital N, referring to a human being, a person, are any of you who are female offended by the notion of referring to humankind as man? You didn't fall for that, Jacob. Okay, all right. So man, how many? It's singular. Yes. Well, on the face of it, man to man is a wolf does not make a whole lot of sense. On the other hand, Charles thinks it makes some sense, perhaps. How would you interpret it? Yeah, Lupa is the she-wolf who's, under the shade at the moment in the flag. But Lupa feminine is a she-wolf. Lupus masculine is, well, a masculine wolf. But what does it mean to say? If you don't like it in that order, try this one. Man is a wolf to man. Yes. I'm not sure that wolves are noted for their stupidity, but rather their vicious, violent, uncivilized, savage nature, which is an inappropriate stereotype of wolves. Wolves are cute and cuddly. Okay? Okay? With each other. Okay? Now, broadly speaking, do wolves actively seek out and try to kill other wolves? No, they'll fight for dominance, but once dominance within a wolf pack is asserted, and maybe the loser is driven off to live alone or to go find another pack to join up with, the wolf is let live. Okay. We're the only species, broadly speaking, although there are exceptions to this, that actively on a regular basis seeks out other members of our species to harm, to kill, and to treat the way a wolf perhaps would treat a sheep. Except, well, I'm not talking about cannibalism. I'm talking about the idea that human beings are often savage to other human beings. And that's the Latin version of the proverb. Can you give an example of that? Not from your own life, I hope. Uh-huh. Okay, yeah. I mean, it is possible to conceive of it in terms of warfare generally. Um, but, in more, I don't want to say it, we've come to accept, most of us, warfare as occasionally a necessary evil, one that has to happen. But there are times when people are just flat out savage to each other when they don't need to be. I'm sorry, what? Did Solomon try to kill David? Okay, I'll take your word for it. Yep. Yeah, the bombings in Boston would be a good example. Okay. Shooting at the Aurora Theater. Okay. And not to dwell on places where human beings treat each other badly, but it is a phrase, something that is, not to bring up images of Star Wars, it's the dark side to human nature that occasionally shows up in certain humans. And the Romans expressed it in this challenging proverb, man to man is a wolf. Okay, questions? All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause while we, yeah, it's duco, ducere, duxi, ductus, meaning lead. Okay, so that's what comes to mind to me when I see ducus or ducus in 1 and 2, and I have to make a choice about whether it's the verb lead or the noun leader. In 3 and 4, there's lex legis, the new noun that means law. But what verb is it meant to, well, what verb does it echo for you? Lego, legere, which means to read or choose or gather. Is there a form of lego, legere? And I want to notice the short E on Lego, legere, that this could be. Yes, yes, good call. Right. Are there other questions on A? Yes. Yes. No, it's actually more special than genitive singular. No, much more special than nominative plural. It's the vocative singular. Okay, so there are names that end in ius. For example, I have a Latin 3 student whose name is Fufius. And so when I call him in class, I call him Fufi. Don't laugh, okay? When I call on Charles, I don't call him Gaius, I call him Gai, okay, with a long I vocative singular ending. The crazy thing is that on the adjective meos, meum, me is actually the vocative masculine singular. And I'd like to ask you guys, okay, take my word for it, me is actually the vocative singular of meus. If it weren't if the vocative singular weren't me, what would the vocative singular have to be? Not quite. Everybody, it'd be meh, okay? Meh, meh, meh. Okay? So, well, not me, it's Latin, not English, okay? All right? It'd be meh. which makes you sound like a sheep with a digestive problem. Okay. So the vocative singular is actually me, and Feely is vocative singular as well. So it's simply my son. Yes. Yes. Vocative plural would be Feely e mei. Okay. Not to say you should know this, but I will tell you that our textbook is remarkably defective on the vocative singular. You guys actually know that. Or it's remarkably defective on all vocative case forms. But on that pink handout, of which I don't have an extra copy, that has the noun declensions first and second on it, you can see what the vocatives look like. All right, enough about that. Other questions on A? Yes? Correct. Yep, I take Caesar as being vocative case, his name vocative case, because it's set off by a comma from the rest of the sentence. Good. Others? Any questions on B as in baloney? Yes. It's true. The instructions on B actually start off with encouraging you to review the not peculiarities, but the distinctive traits of first and second declension nouns, like puer and auger and fama. And then they throw at you, finally, a third declension noun with salus in problem number 6. In 7 through 14, they give you an assortment of declensions. Okay, and this is kind of getting at what I aim to draw out in the lecture / discussion on Monday, that to properly interpret the ending of a noun, and let's see if I can switch quickly. You'd have to know what declension that noun belongs to, so that you can more accurately determine the case that it represents, the case and number. You guys notice that they gave you everything in pairs. So equi and equi both use a long I ending. Dominus and hominibus both end in us, although one of those is an accident. Saluta and serva both end in short e, and legum and signum both end in and they're wanting you to just differentiate. For example, on 13 and 14, let me just go ahead and ask, 13 and 14, which of those is genitive? Legum. Yeah, legum is the only form that could be genitive, because means something totally different when it's on a second declension noun. Okay. Any questions on C as in cowboy? This is the point at which it becomes really important to make sure that you know the, genders of third declension nouns. Just go ahead and shout out the gender of noun number 1. Ducem. Masculine, except when it's referring to Dido. Paca, number 2. Feminine. Okay. What about salus, number 4? It's feminine. Okay. And you want to be decisive in the long run. And if you're not decisive in the short run, take time to look it up. Because salus might look deceptively masculine to you since it ends in us. But the truth is it's feminine. Okay. Other questions on C. Did everyone, no pun intended, see that C continues onto the top of page 148? Oh dear. Okay. Well, it's good you're going to get to keep your you're going to get to keep your workbook a little bit longer. questions? No? Okay, woohoo. All right. So what I'd like to do is turn in the general direction of D. I'm going to go ahead and snap a photo of it. We're going to do this as a sort of warm-up. You're going to follow the instructions, and I'm going to try to make it so that I can actually snap a decent picture of it. And then we're going to do some other work with these. What do you guys feel that you might be missing in order to do workbook activity D well? You might want to have your book. Too bad. Are there any nouns that are not familiar to you at all? Yes. Okay. Mater. It's really good that in Latin 1, and I'm sure Mrs. J also gave you basic family relationship terms, but we didn't expect you guys to memorize them. So, mater, matris, feminine noun, and mother. Right? Are you guys okay with soror? Okay. Do you guys know what declension it belongs to? Masculine is not a declension, okay? It's like asking a student, do you know which restroom to go to? And the student says, sure, Mr. Mancuso's room. No, just kidding. I wouldn't want to go there, okay? Oh, someone's actually paying attention. Sororis is not masculine, okay? Apologies to all the sisters out there. Any others you want to ask about? Frater? Frater. Oh. And do you feel comfortable enough with pater? We've seen it in a couple of phrases, but we have not learned it as a formal vocab item. All right. So, hop to it. Well, you don't have to hop. Well, you don't have to jump until I say jump. Let's put it in slightly different terms. Where's the Latin 2 bag o sticks? Caesar, number 1. Do puella and poeta share simply a declension, simply a gender, or both a declension and gender? That's true. So I'm going to go ahead and put the X simply under declension, because poeta is one of those nouns that the Romans used for professions. It happened to be first declension, but was different in gender from puella. Okay. Do you have a question? Okay, Tiberi, number 2. What trait do poeta and populus share, or what traits? It could be plural. True, just gender. Number 3, Maxima. True. Populus is one of the US second declension nouns. Puer even though it ends in ER, is the second declension noun. So both are masculine, so we can put the X there with certainty. Lucia, number 4. They share only gender. Nicely said. This pater, as this vocab entry seeks to demonstrate, is third declension, whereas puer still is second. Number 5, Augusta. Good, I'm glad you would. Number 6, Nikias. Wait, you're Nikias? Oh, no. Okay. You don't have your workbook? Ah, it's frater and mater. Their declension is third. Do they share gender? No. Okay. So we'll just mark the X in the declension box. Let's see. Number 7, Flaminia. True. Just gender. Number 8, I know this is much too simple for you guys, but that's okay. Gai. True. Okay. Philia and soror, Mars. They share only gender. That's true. Okay. And number 10, Wera, soror and Puella share. They share gender, but not declension. Okay, good. Okay, all right. So as a quick warm-up, not the worst thing in the world. If you would, let's go ahead and take this as an opportunity to do a little bit of drill surrounding the third declension. I'm going to see if I can quickly enough bring up the drill template that I normally use. And you guys can choose which of these fourth declension nouns. Sorry, third declension. Which of these 1, 2, 3, 4? That's where the 4 came from. Which of these 4 third declension nouns? Oh my goodness, you would care to work with. All right. Hang on. Computer's thinking. It's not thinking for itself. Okay. It's not a computer like HAL. Yeah, I want to hide it. Okay, goodbye. All right. So, mother, father, sister, brother. Sure. Go ahead and make your brother accusative. Your ticket out the door. I think people will get a lot more quick solid on their declensions if it meant, you know, the ability to use the bathroom. Fra what? That would be dative singular. I'm looking for accusative. Fratrem. Good. All right. So go ahead and move on. Since we started with brother, let's go. Everyone, aloud. Frater, fratres. I am not at all sure that you guys nailed the ablative. Fratre. Lost something. Okay. So fratre, and then back to the vocative singular. Frater. Okay. Plural, nominative. Fratres, fratrum, fratrebus, good. Fratres, fratribus, fratres. Too many R's in there for my comfort. All right. Next, mother or father or sister?
Masculine sister.
Okay. Owen, which now? Mother. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is not going to be very nice. Rosa. We're going to use the noun mother. Dative plural. Excellent. Maybe it is very nice because that's a nice answer to start us off. Ignati. Let's go with dative singular. Matri. Excellent. Sorry, the popsicle sticks are sticky today. Athena. Let's go ahead and have the accusative plural. Matres. The accusative singular we've already heard from Nikias. Matrem. I'll go ahead and fill that in. Luki. Genitive plural. What's after the R? Matro. Okay. Good. Genitive singular, please, Jakobe. Emphasize the shortness of that I sound and have you repeat it. No, not mattress, although I suppose you could say that you did spend your incubation using your mom as a mattress, sleeping well cushioned. Okay. Well, it's true. I mean, you know. You don't want to acknowledge the idea that you were born from a loving mother? Gosh, that's terrible. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry, Jake. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm sure the Cabbage Patch leaves functioned as a lovely mattress. Oh my goodness. Balba. Now here is a great opportunity for you. Ablative plural. Matrebos is correct. Okay. Popsicle sticks. Sempronia. Ablative singular. Matre. Excellent. Right. Down to the last three. Katharina. Lena. Nominative plural. Say it for me one more time. Matres. Good. Okay. That long E sound, A. Yeah. Let's imagine that, you know, when you do your final translation for second semester, you want it to come back with an A on it. Because that's the sound that it makes. Okay. All right. Strabo. I really don't want to throw at you the nominative singular because that's just easy peasy. So I'll throw at you the vocative singular instead. Yes. I'm glad you didn't fall for that. That was close. Okay. Angela, na vocative plural. Matres. Good. I'm sure that your mothers would be very proud of you. If they haven't been made into corned beef and cabbage already. Well, it's just Jake and most of you seem not to want to acknowledge the source of your life being a human female and seem to prefer the Cabbage Patch story. And so I was referring to the idea of finding Jake lying on a mattress of cabbage leaves in the Cabbage Patch. And of course, you know, the destiny of a lot of cabbage is A, corned beef and cabbage, B, coleslaw, C, rabbit food, D, kimchi, and E, Sauerkraut. Okay. All right. Now that I've totally ruined cabbage for you, let's have you guys turn in the direction of workbook activity D. Okay. Sorry, E. Sorry, my letters of the alphabet have been thrown off by the whole listing off of uses for cabbage, aside from little baby Banky for Jake. Okay. You're going to find the instructions fairly straightforward, okay, when you do it tonight. But make sure you read the instructions, because you will find in some cases that there is more than one right answer. Right? Nouns plural. Okay. So go ahead and put your workbooks away, if you don't mind. I'm going to ask you guys to not finish up E while we're talking, because that would be bad. I'm going to go ahead and pause this work, but we'll start over again, see if we can't get number 1 done super quickly. Bryce, if you would. Yes. Cynthia, if your word I can't remember. Yep. And along the way it got changed to committent, right? Committent. And Maro, what was your contribution? I want to do maybe a step forward on this particular word. In English, everybody, what is the word prepared as used in this sentence? A verbal adjective / a participle. Okay. So what I want you guys to think of it is, it's an adjective describing the soldiers. Some of you suggested substituting the idea of ready, and that's a good strategy. But the P cubed, the perfect passive participle in Latin, what's the fourth principal part of paro? Good. Now let's change the ending from paratus, which could describe one masculine singular soldier. What would make it plural to describe milites? That would end up making it neuter singular. So I'm going to go ahead and throw at you parati, which uses a second declension nominative plural ending to describe the subject, milites. All right, Guy, I have no idea whether we ever got to you. Beryllium is good, and actually it doesn't have a macron over the E. And I should be at this point following through on my promise to underline words that are totally awesome. Okay. Mars, do you have a thought on altering committant, which right now is in the present tense and would mean the prepared soldiers begin battle? Very nearly. Erunt, yes, but there's a stem change on committo. If we go to the perfect tense, no. Committo, committera, commisi is the third principal part, so commiserunt, and that's going to be awesomely correct. So the prepared soldiers began battle. All right, excellent. I'm going to pre-mark the participation for the next 4 people. Actually, the next 6 people, so that when it's time, I don't have to stop and do that. But number 2, moving a little forward. Safety first is a good motto on the roads. Yes. It's a valuable contribution, Lucia. Thank you. And may I rush to underline it? Okay. Tiberti. With ease, like so. Good. All right. Sol what? Salus. I'll go ahead and put the quotation marks. If do you have a question? We're, well, you're right after JB. Okay. All right. Show him your shirt, JB. No, just kidding. Okay. Okay. Rosa, onwards. I didn't write this in a nice way that's going to leave lots of room. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? When you can just grab a word and move it like that. I think that's pretty cool. All right, so we're going to try to get everything in view. Safety is motto on, well, we don't have on, we have roads. There's room for a little tweak on sententiam, which is why I haven't underlined it just yet. But let's see what you have to offer here. It isn't quite going to be sententium. Sententia is first declension, so works as an ending. Sententium belongs to a different declension. But I'll go ahead and write that, and then JB is going to either give us a new word or make a needed change. But where's your transitive verb? I hate to answer a question with a question, but my question is aimed at getting you guys to ask, why do you need the accusative? There's no verb that takes a direct object in this sentence, and so we don't really need sententiam to be accusative. In fact, we need it to be nominative. It's the predicate nominative with the linking verb est. Oh, well, you've given 2 words for the price of 1. That's all right. That's okay. I'm not going to overpay you. Okay. They're both free. Yes? Prima is correct, and I'm really glad you made the leap to observe that because safety is feminine, prima must also have a feminine ending. Okay? And Jacobe, you shouldn't get away with this little word, but go ahead. In. Okay? All right. Okay. Well, what do you expect from a Cabbage Patch Kid? All right. Okay. Okay, let me tell you about the rest of your homework. Yes.